Hello, good morning, and welcome back to Reaper Pro-Tips, the Wednesday edition, with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied hands, Quindy, and a tiny touch of John. And then somewhere eventually we'll get a Justin back. But I think the baby ate his brain cells. How are you all? Does that mean it's a zombie baby? Does that mean babies are zombies? Like, I could see this. Hello. And Crows and Bones, thank you for the resub. 15 months. Awesome. Wow, 10-month streak. Very cool. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We appreciate your support. Yes, that's about as much energy as I have. I woke up early this morning, and sometimes you wake up early and you're like, yeah! And sometimes you wake up early and you're like, I was cheated out of a half hour of sleep. And that's how I was. Hi, Nara. Hey, long time no see. Boing. Boing. Or it seems like a while since I've seen your name in chat. Maybe I just didn't see you yesterday. M.O. We've got a few people who are here who weren't yesterday. Karanika, this makes sense. Babies absorb other people's brain cells and sanity. Yeah. Interesting. Does that mean babies are secretly the portal for Cthulhu to enter our world? Not only are they zombie babies, but... Good morning, green users. Hello. Everybody's like good morninging and good morninging. All right, so people who weren't here yesterday, people here, we had a cool discussion yesterday that you missed, but I'm gonna bring you in on it because it's cool and because I want more data. I was thinking about how to structure my poll for my Patreon. So we were talking about motivation in painting yesterday, and like what about the hobby motivates you, and like just like why do you paint, kind of the whole like core thing, because it was in my brain that knowing this sort of information about my students would help me be a better teacher. It might also help you guys like learn how to life hack your way into painting more if that's what you wanted to do. But nothing would surprise you about babies. Yeah, but some people missed it. Nomad Zeke, like Inara missed it, and I'm really curious. So I'm gonna read you guys kind of what we've got here. And although I probably shouldn't bias you, I probably should just ask you straight out if I was a good scientist, which I'm not. But if I was, I would just be like, so when are you at your most productive, happiest place with painting? Like, what about painting keeps you in the hobby, really motivates you, makes you happy? You know, like if you had to pick like an environment or a process or whatever. Yeah, okay, so dig a little deeper into that. Like, do you like to finish the models? Do you like the process of bringing them to life? So like that's what we're digging down in this one, in our so like there's like a level, like some people are goal motivated where it's really painting for the game. It gets them to paint more. It's when they're most productive. Some people are goal motivated differently. Like they actually are motivated to learn more. Like learning is their thing. Some people enjoy the process because they get to play, while they're painting. Some people like to, so then we've got another creative. Okay, so you're another process painter. That's awesome. Some people really like it because it's their alone time and they love to focus and get like really, really just into their own little world. Some people like to finish models. Like finishing the model means more to them and makes them happier than any other part of the process. Where do you land on there, Inara? You think it's similar with Minnie? So another process painter. And then there's green users. Yeah, right now it's about the process and a little bit about finishing. Because there's always a satisfaction, right? And usually these aren't either or propositions, right? So usually there are a couple different things. Like I also somewhat enjoy finishing a project, but for me, like I love it because it's kind of my alone time. I love being in my Zen zone. I love to focus. I also love to learn things. So it's also, that motivates me also. But if I really had to pick like when I'm most productive with painting, it's when I really just embrace my inner introvert and I sit down and I put on my noise blockers, headphones, and I just put on music and I paint. And that's my happy place. So like for me, It's like my alone time. Like it's kind of my time with me. That is like my most productive time. Yeah, I kind of, you know what, Inara? I kind of agree with you there. Like you don't get the same reward from it. It's kind of like this is silly, but it's kind of like when you win a painting competition. The first one you win, where you win something, you're like, "Oh my god," and it blows your mind and it's like the amazing moment. But then with every win, it gets more like you're just like, "Oh, let's get on with the next project." So yeah, stress reliever. That's another good one, actually. That's kind of with the introvert, the solo focus, right? I'll write that down though, Thormel, because solo focus, and we've got stress reliever. I actually forgot to note that down because that can be part of several different, but it's usually part of the solo focus kind of Zen. It's either the Zen process or the solo focus is stress reliever. It depends, right? Right. Yeah. So it sounds like you and I are very similar, Thoramel, because that's where like I can be productive in other settings. Like there are some people who are social painters; they love the social aspect, and that's where they're most productive. I can enjoy that, but I much more enjoy my alone time. Right. So a lot of these things may apply to each of you, but it's drilling down to like when are you really happiest? When are you really in your zone with the models and the painting? What makes you absolutely like just makes you happy? The whole, and that usually is the core reason like that you keep coming back to the hobby in the end. You like glory cursed. You'll take my word on that. Yeah, I know. Oh, good, Moonlight. Yeah. Glory to be added to the list. Because, yeah, some people do want recognition, right? They paint because they want to get good. They want to excel. So glory recognition. That's a good one. Thanks, Moonlight. Glory, recognition, drive, competitive. Like you could break those down. Like, because some people paint because of that. I kind of think competitive kind of rolls into that a little bit. All right. I'm going to have to really break. This is going to be so much fun to break down. Because I want to break this after we do this. Like, after I've got kind of a nice long list here. Like I want to break it down into categories. Obviously, like your solo focus is kind of at the opposite end from your socially motivated, right? You can kind of be like, you can be at a point on there like I am. Like I can paint socially and enjoy it, but I'm far more productive on the solo end. So I would choose a dot further toward the solo end. Stuff like that. Fortune and glory. Yep. Yeah. Goal driven. Yep. Yeah. And I agree with you there, actually, Thoramel. See, that's actually what keeps me from getting back. Like David loves video games and he will just dump a lot of time into them. And there's this little voice in the back of my head going, you could be actually producing something that made you happy, right? And in the real world. So yeah, that's actually what drove me away from video games and toward mini painting more. I used to be WoW addicted, and actually coming to that realization helped me break that addiction. So something tangible. I'm actually gonna, because goal-oriented, so that would almost be finishing. Do you think, Thoramel? Like, that's a completion? Because as you complete things, it's a tangible reward. Something tangible. So I feel like that's kind of an offshoot. And we have with those things. There's some of these ideas that we're coming up from are kind of offshoots or additions to, like another thing. Like something tangible completion is probably tied together. Yes, that's tied to completion. But it is a slightly different angle on it, right? So I like getting all these different flavors. So it's not just finishing it, like, because some people are just happy to finish a mini, and some people are happier when they want to be happy with the mini, right? Otherwise they don't get the same reward, that kind of thing. And some people like really just like having that tangibility, something that's more of a why this hobby. So yeah, cool. Yeah, I see. I had the opposite problem, Moonlight, because classic was my addiction. And when I tried Classic again, like all the old things like rose up and like wanted me to play it all the time. And I was like, oh, that's why I was addicted to this game. And I just had to shut it down. Like I got to level 26 or something and I was like, I can't. I just can't. It helped that I didn't have a guild or anybody else to play with at that time. But yeah, it really got my dopamine going. And I was like, ooh, okay, yeah, no. Because I lost a lot of time to WoW back in the day. Right when I was starting with, right when WoW launched, I had been at Reaper for like a year or two, and all the Reaperites were playing, and so I got into their guild, and it just ate my life for years. But then I really had to look at it at the end of that and go, I have nothing to show for this, right? I have good times with friends, that's always worth it, but the game itself, just the game, can't do it anymore. Like, I play every new expansion, and then I stop. Once my character maxes out level, and I do some dungeons, and I have some fun, then I'm done. It helps that, I hate to say this, but it helps that I actually have a little bit of rotator cuff pain here. So I can't play for very long. So it actually physically limits me, or I'll hurt. You don't like competition, you prefer to just paint and enjoy it. Yeah, it's more of a self rewarding hobby then. Let's see here. Oh, wow. Yeah. It took so much time. It's such a grind. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's good that you had a family conversation. See, you're doing it in a healthy way. Everybody's in on the discussion. My WoW itch, yep. Yeah. I've actually learned to, like, with the new content, I find it much easier to put down. So I like to see the story evolve. So I played, like, the last one, Shadowlands. I played until I got my character to top level. I raided once or twice, but the problem is it's too long. And like I said, then I get shoulder pain and I just can't do it. So I can't raid anymore. And that's like, if you can't raid, like, endgame is like, yeah. Showing them off to others. Yeah, we did, actually. So recognition, right? Let me make that one down, because that's another recognition, but it's not quite glory. So recognition. And that's a little bit, recognition can be either like accomplishment motivated or socially motivated, I think. Because if it's I finished this and I want to show it to everybody, then it's kind of accomplishment motivated. Where if it's like I want everybody to kind of like validate, then it can be socially motivated, I think. I'm gonna have to think about that one a little bit more. That's interesting. But recognition is a lot. I mean, I think for a lot of us, recognition is part of it, right? I definitely like to show my finished minis to people and like get feedback and yeah, recognition. Yep, validation. Validation that like you are actually good at this and like that you are not just kind of like, you should take up something else. Yeah, see, and that's why I'm tempted to go back to 14. I liked 14 when I first played it, but their login system, like were having login issues and it totally shut me out of my account. And because they couldn't fix it, I'm like, if you can't even fix your gosh darn login system and I have to make a new account, like, no. Just no. So I kind of gave up on Squeenix at that point and went, yeah, so I'm not playing Final Fantasy XIV, which is probably good for my productivity and overall life. So yeah, hey, Miniatures Den, we were just talking about how we're totally not addicted to World of Warcraft anymore. Or Final Fantasy XIV, or anything else. Actually, no, you guys are here. Wait, I can capture this. Okay, so Pocket Raiders. We've been having this big discussion for the last 2 days about what motivates you the most to be in this hobby. Like, are you socially motivated? Like, are you at your most productive when you're painting with people? Are you goal motivated? Like, do you paint for a campaign or a game, or do you have a goal to learn new techniques or something like that? Are you a learner? Are you happiest when you're just learning new ways to do the hobby? Stuff like that. Like, why do you paint? Tell me, Pocket Raiders. We're making a list. I want to turn this into a poll. The answer is yes. No, Gimli, come on, drill it down. We're trying to get really granular. So the reason I wanted to do this is one, I want to become a better teacher. And I think that if I go into like coaching or you know, a smaller group stuff, knowing kind of how people are wired, maybe I can reach them better and teach them better. But the other thing is that knowing this stuff and really getting to the bottom of it and not just kind of, you know, kind of saying, oh, all of it, you know, it can help you, especially if you suffer from motivation or you get blocked or you notice you haven't been painting and you're like, why haven't I been painting? And you just can't figure it out. So that's why we're doing this, because it's like, if you can figure out that like you are most productive as a social painter in a social setting, then you know, hey, I need to find a painting buddy online, or maybe I can find a group where we can all sit on Zoom chat if I don't have anybody near me, or maybe I should paint at my local game store, you know, that kind of thing. So I kind of want it as a hack thing too, because I want to write up a PDF and do, hey, you know, if you drill down and you're this kind of painter, here are some ideas to help you get more motivated about painting, right? That kind of thing. I always love that. So you're saying that Twitch streams are not good for your productivity, Arcan? It varies. Yep. Okay, but if you had to define your ultimate happy place, Gimli, like when are you most productive as a painter? Or are you really just spread over everything? Because that's fair. That could just be, you know, just kind of a balanced painter. That's probably exists because none of these things exist in isolation. Most of us have a bit of all of them. But for me, if I'm gonna really drill it, because I can have fun painting in social settings. I can be motivated by painting for a game. But when I really, really look for my happy place in mini painting, it's sitting down, putting on my noise blocking headphones, and just painting and having me time, like getting in my zone. That is when I'm most productive and happiest at mini painting. So that's kind of what we're looking for, is that core, like that core thing that you love more than anything else about the hobby. Most productive when there's a game coming up. Yeah, so probably goal motivated then, Cursed. If that's when you're most productive. Oh, yeah, see, you're interesting, Anar. That's, yeah, nothing kills your motivation like a deadline. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm going to put that down like anti-deadline. Because, yeah, what I'm betting here is that we've got a couple of different metrics in play, like a couple of different descriptors. And everybody's got like a few like kind of descriptors they could use to like figure out like what kind of motivation in painting. See, it's good when you know that though. It's good when you know what kills your motivation. That's really important to know. And also what like makes you more motivated. You like social? Yeah, just relaxing. So that's stress relief, like, you know, relaxing, stress relieving. I did write that down. Yes, I did. Stress relief, relaxation. Yeah, that's its own thing too. Yeah, because most of us can enjoy, even us introverts can enjoy painting in a social setting. But if we really ask ourselves, when are we most productive and really at our most happy, many of us would say we do the hobby, reach out to the hobby for a stress relief or get away from it all, right? Thanks, bots. Oh, yeah, bye, Gimli, bye. So did he give you joy as a student because it was your alone time, like your me time, Dogfather, or for other reasons? Yep, and that's important to know when deadlines stress you out, because it should always be fun. It should always be fun. Like, and that probably means both Inara and Thoramel is that you may not be a goal motivated painter. Like if having a hard goal or a deadline tends to stress you out, that's probably lower on your scale of what makes you mini paint or what makes you productive, right? So personal goals probably motivate you a little bit more, but even then that can get troubling because you can set a deadline for yourself and it ends up stressing you out just as much as somebody else's deadline, or almost. I've run into that. Yeah, so that's definitely something to think about if you notice that you're not painting as much. Yeah, and you guys sound like you really figured it out and you backed off from that. That's good. I think sometimes people are just like, oh, I'm just tired, or oh, I'm just stressed out and I still need to do this because I still love it. And then they're burning themselves out. Because that's the trouble, right? If you don't identify the things that aren't working for you, then you can burn out. And you end up in burnout and you're like, but I was doing my hobby and I love my hobby. What's wrong with me? Or maybe this hobby isn't for me after all, when that's actually not the answer. Yep. I feel that, Lady Kachara. That's actually why I took up, after I looked into knitting stuff as a gift for someone, I actually started like learning to do it. And that it's like, that's why I told David, he's like, do you really need another hobby? And I'm like, no, I don't really need another hobby, but this is never something I'm going to do for a living. It's never something I'm going to do for competition. It is only for me, and there's absolutely no stress. And it doesn't matter if I take a whole month to learn a new stitch or a whole year to learn a new stitch. Right. And there's a very freeing aspect of that. Yeah, good recovery, Thoramel. Hee hee. So we're going to do the mane, guys. We're going to highlight the mane. We're going to get some of the white striping up on the mane, and I'm going to do a little white stripe down the middle of his beard, too. I'm going to use walnut for this. I'm going to mix a little bit of blue liner into it, because we did do kind of a mix. But I like the blue sheen more on the really sleek hair. This is a lot rougher, so I'm not going to go for as much of a blue tone to it. Let me grab my blue liner here. So I'm using a couple drops of walnut, and I'm going to toss a couple drops of blue liner in it. Thanks, Bendo. Yeah, I really like it. We actually did, we hand mixed our own olive green for this one. I actually did a session where, because olive greens are so easy to mix, I did kind of a clinic showing how different yellows interacted with black to create different shades of olive. And then I chose one to be, to kind of go opposite the reddish brown bay horse coloring. I'm glad you like it. I definitely like that I can, I've gotten good enough at the basic knit stitch that I can do it during, while kind of watching things with David or watching my Overwatch League. All right. And it's a nice zen thing too, because it's repetitive and you can let your brain just kind of go and do other things while you're doing it. So I did finally figure out how to single crochet into a magic circle last night, Karniko. I'm embarrassed to even admit how long it took me. Like, I had to go watch a video. I had to search for YouTube videos. I didn't even know what I was looking for. Now maybe I can make a ball for the puppy. That's my goal. That's why I took this up, is because of the origurumi. And I'm like, if I can just make a little knitted ball for the puppy, it'll be worth it. Yes, I leveled up. I also refilled my, and I put a new tip on my water bottle because it was squeezing out extra drops. It was having troubles. So now I refilled my my water. I should be good here. So I'm going to actually put, this is going to be actually a 2-to-1 mix for this dark. Because I've already got a solid base coat on here, I don't really need to keep that really thick. And it's going to work best for fine details if I make it thinner. Recent lull with your projects. Yeah, there's certainly stress. I did a whole PDF about that for my Patreon. That's patreon.com/paintingbig. I think it's the $10 level, and it's called Why Are You Not Painting? But it kind of explores the pressure that can come from that and the fear of finishing and all that kind of thing that can block you up. That's kind of why I started asking all these questions about motivation, is because I'd like to do another one. I find that stuff fascinating, so I'd like to do another PDF about it and things like that after I run my poll. But yeah, that's a thing, crows. Like, that's why David taught me this, my fiance. But he will paint really hard on competition minis, and then he'll break off and he'll work on gaming models, like just stuff for our board games. And I've totally stolen that from him because it's a detox kind of, it's like there's nothing huge at stake and you don't have to paint to the top. Some 2 big brushfuls of this over here. I'm going to drop a drop of white into it. You felt attacked by that. You should have felt validated by that PDF, Korniko. I've been through every single one of those blocks as a painter. I spent years deep in burnout. Like, it was not fun. I'm so happy that I can look at a model nowadays and get super excited about it. Like, it was years, guys. Happily, while that was happening, Reaper was launching Master Series Paint, so I essentially transitioned from being a staff painter that was really, really burned out and unhappy to being a paint line designer who was much happier and never had to paint a mini. Yeah, I did that too. Like, it is hard to balance, Moonlight. Yeah, I started doing it when we were playing Descent way back when I lived with John Bono and Daryl in the Reaper house. Long time ago. But yeah, that can be fun, but it is hard. You have to, like, know the game. You have to be paying attention. But it is motivating, right? Because you're actually playing the game, so you want to motivate. You want the minis to be painted, so it's a very motivating thing. So if you can just keep enough attention that people don't get irritated at you. So there's my first step, guys. I'm going to use this kind of block in where I want my lighter colors to be. Got to make sure I've got a nice solid base coat here. I've got a little bit of area I didn't get here. So yeah, I painted a couple of Descent monsters while I was gaming with that game. With the Bard Song stuff, I'm actually pretty motivated since right now we're just really busy right now. I mean, with the new puppy coming, with the wedding coming up, and everything else, I just feel really, like, stressed out. So we are taking it really easy for the rest of everything. So we haven't started Bard Song yet. But yeah, that kind of gives me time to kind of paint some of the monsters and stuff for Bard Song and my character. So that makes me happy. Then when we hit, like, later in the fall, when we have more time to just hang out on the weekends, then we can start a new game. Yeah, I mean, if you're tired, you're just out of spoons. Like, it doesn't mean that you're, we all run into that, Dogfather, where it's like, you just, there's a certain number of energy pennies that you've got per day, and that's it. Like, once you spend all your energy pennies, you can't do anything. Like, even if you want to paint, you can't do it. So then it's like, I guess the question that at that point I have to ask is, what is the best, like, most rejuvenating use of your time, right? Because then you've got your weekend time, or your break, your days when you don't work, your days off. But, you've got other stuff to do during that time. So I do think it's really important to, like, take time for yourself, even when you've got all these family demands or all these X things and all these other things and all these errands to run and all the every things. I think it's really important to give yourself some you time when you have energy. Not always at the end of the night where you're, like, totally burned out and don't have anything left in the tank. But to make a half an hour for yourself or an hour for yourself earlier in the day where you can do your thing and kind of rejuvenate. I think it helps keep us from getting too frustrated and too burned out with life in general. Because, yeah, you can't expect yourself to paint when you're, like, you've busted butt all day at work and you're stressed and maybe you don't like your job very much or your coworkers or whatever. And you feel like you never have enough time and, all that stuff just kind of snowballs. And at some point you've got to put down your foot and say, hey, I need some time for me because I'm just really unhappy right now. That was hard for me. It was really hard for me because I'm like, oh, I need to get this done. I need to get this done. I need to get this done. Nobody else is going to do it, and sometimes I just had to let those things go. I had to learn it. It can be hard. Yeah, exactly, Jim. Gimli, that's hard, right? Balancing time prepping with getting mini ready. Yeah. Yep, sometimes we just get a nice piece of unpainted plastic. That is so true. Oh, board games with house purchases. Yeah, but there's so many minis. That can get so overwhelming, Korniko. Yeah, I might make time in the morning on weekends, dog father. And you know what? It's like, it's okay, I think, to ask your family to understand in that case that that you'd like to actually be able to do your hobby. But it's up to you. It's up to you. And maybe you have a different hobby that actually renews you more. Like, that's the thing, right? If miniature painting isn't actually like giving you like that rejuvenation, that if it's not giving to you, if it's only taking away, then maybe then you do work on a different hobby, right? Give it time. Oh, Rising Sun. I'm kind of jealous because I loved those models and I didn't buy it, but I'm also like, oh my god, there were so many and they're so freaking detailed. Yeah, 15 minutes between things. Yep. Slow progress is still progress. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Crows. I had to learn that too. Yep. A lot of focus on improving your painting. Yep, yep. Yeah, I mean, you can still improve in some things, right? Because you can get better at choosing colors. You can get better. There are some things that don't depend on fine motor. But yeah, I totally get that in our, like, to not put that pressure on yourself because you don't need it. And like, it's just not like, if you feel like there's no way you can reach that goal, then it's unfair to put that pressure on yourself. Absolutely. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the solo focus thing. That's kind of what I have going on, Roger. Yeah, I really liked a lot of the Rising Sun figures, but oh my gosh. All right, so let's take this dark gray. I want I want this first part of the mane to stay dark though, because we need it for contrast, right? We've got it on this bronze, and the bronze highlight's going to come up a little higher. So I want contrast, and that means I want that part to be dark up against there. So I think as I get back here, I'm going to do a lighter stripe. Even with the bones or with the horns being light, we should be able to differentiate it and keep it from being confusing. Yeah, big hugs to everybody. All right, so I am gonna kind of focus on like a logical locks of hair. Like I can see that there's a difference between this lock of hair and we've got a nice kind of line that splits it right there. So I'm gonna paint this lock of hair lighter. I'm gonna keep that darker. I'm gonna paint this lock of hair lighter. Keep that one darker, and then I'm gonna put a stripe right here. So that'll give us like three, but our hair is still mostly light, which is kind of what I want. Or sorry, still mostly dark. Apologies. That'll also let us bring this up to really light, this part that drapes over the spear, and we want the spear half to stay dark. So this actually works for us really well. Now these separations may not be the same on the other side of the mane, although this one is pretty good. This one actually lines up. This one, I want to kind of mark those two little bits there. So this is where this is on this side. So kind of like that. And then I got to look over here and see, okay, it's that stripe there. Here. And if there aren't great demarcations sculpted into the hair, just kind of just choose, right? I just chose a line to cut it off there. Oh, the contrast paints. Yeah, it is a juggling act. Yep. For sure. Yeah, I just worry about you, dog father, because you seem very stressed a lot, and so I know mini painting can help with that. So I'm like, but if it doesn't help for you, then like, if it's not helping, then try to find a different thing. All that life requires is that you find something that helps you detach from the stress of everyday life, something that you can enjoy for you. And it may only take one day a week. Like 1 hour of one day on the weekend. Alrighty, so we've got these lighter streaks. I'm going to do one down the beard as well. So these are just pretty much markers. I'm just painting it all dark. Oh, and I missed a spot right there, so I'm going to go in and hit that. But he's got a nice kind of stripe down the center of his beard, so I'm going to get that. And if I really want to, I could also make the tips of his mustache lighter. That's kind of fun. Let's do that. Let's try that and see how it looks. But yeah, sometimes it's very hard to like, sit down and kind of knock your schedule like into place, and then other people like to derail it, or the dogs will derail it, or there's always stuff that happens. It is the 20th, dudes. I know, right? Because their server hasn't clicked over or whatever, and so it's like noon Pacific time on the 20th, right? And it's not noon here yet, so it's like it's not letting you prime sub. This is annoying. That's good. As long as you're keeping at it, Dogfather. That's the important thing. Like, as long as you're finding you time to do you and your hobby when you have the energy. It can get frustrating too if you're the kind of person who really, really gets disrupted by interruptions. Like, this is a thing. And I can do another drop here. We're going to build up a new highlight so that we can actually highlight the hair a little bit more consistently. Start picking out some different clumps. But yeah, it's like, it can be very hard to have a disrupted life, like just with lots of demands on yourself when you are somebody who doesn't recover well from interruptions. Like, I find it hard sometimes, depending. That's cool, Bendo. Yeah. It can be zen and relaxing, right? Yes, workload can be stressful. If getting stuff done is your super excited moment, then yeah, that's definitely like a goal. Let's see, what do we got? That completion is reward. Yeah, yep. Actually, that fits with you finding it zen and relaxing, because when I was asking a lot of questions, Bendo, yesterday, it seemed like for a lot of the solo, like really focused, like alone time people who found it like getting in their zone and being alone with their hobby the most rewarding, completing stuff was a reward for sure. Though that can also be like accomplishment motivated, right? So yeah. So maybe those two are correlated. Yeah. Yeah. And if somebody disrupts you during that time, it's really frustrating. Yeah, I feel that in our. I usually am better these days where I actually have a really good idea. Like, I'll go in and look at the model like at some point early in the evening to remind myself where I was, and then as I'm like prepping dinner, I'll think about what I want to do next, so then I can just grab my paints and kind of get into it. I find that helpful, but that's just because I have my life kind of segmented out right now in a way that I like, as long as I can kind of stay on top of it. Alrighty, let's take this lighter gray, and I'm gonna just kind of do a little bit of streaking in line with where the hair locks are sculpted. We are still gonna highlight the dark parts too, but I want to get this this lighter part really showing up. I am going to bring this up to white too, but and I'm going to interrupt So I decided I'm just gonna use the lighter gray and kind of interrupt him. I'm gonna leave the darker gray down here by the roots and get it lighter as it goes out. Kind of like he's dying like the ends of it, or the ends are more weathered. Morning, Scrying Eye. How's it going? You're another one who missed our discussion, I think, Scrying Eye. So what? Why for you? Why mini painting? What makes you most productive with mini painting? What is it about the hobby that keeps you coming back, Scrying Eye? We want to know. Inquiring minds are trying to figure out like the different types of like hobbyists, like how people, the different ways. I'm trying to figure out the different ways people are motivated with the hobby, the different reasons people choose to do this hobby. So for you, what's your happy place? What's your happiest place? Your most productive place while painting? Yeah, so you're kind of a pre-planner, right? Less spontaneity on that one, right, Agent Marvel. So that's I mean, that's nice because you can kind of set your brain up to go. Yeah, and we're looking at all sorts of stuff, Scrying. I like whether having people around is more motivating, whether having a specific goal, like you're painting for a game, makes you more productive. Or if you're better, if you can just paint whatever you feel like in the moment, like that makes you more productive and more spontaneous. That kind of thing. And there's all sorts of aspects to what we're talking about. I wasn't going to talk about this much today, but then we got that nice big raid, and I was like, oh, well, then let's talk. Because I think everybody is fascinated by the process, right? We're fascinated by like other people's process and like how it informs our process and like figuring out our process so that we can like enjoy our hobby even more. When we figure out a quirk about ourselves, like something that we can exploit to like, enjoy our hobby even more, like that's exciting and cool. So like some people are like, I'm definitely very much a solo kind of get in my Zen zone painter, but I also am really motivated by learning new techniques or trying a new technique. So like right now I'm super excited because I have some rock molds and some plaster and some cork and all sorts of stuff. And I kind of want to try to build a big base for one of my limbo models. And I'm kind of excited about that. So it's kind of motivating me to try a more ambitious project than I otherwise normally try with basing. Get very little done. Right. They're very right. Yeah. And that's true. Like it could be motivational without being productive time. Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's like when I sit down and read Kirill's painting book. It's like I get very little done. Or like the AK book that I'm reading about diorama building right now. I get very little done. I'm not going to like actually actively be doing my hobby, but it's very inspirational. So it's worth that time. Another thing I find inspirational is actually just sitting down and going through my boxes of unpainted miniatures. Like just grabbing a box and then just looking through it. Like almost always like I'll see something and maybe it's box art, maybe it's just like I get kind of an idea based on a different mini what I might want to do with a different mini. But sometimes that can be good too. Sometimes it's just a time sink where I'm just sitting there staring lovingly at all my, haphazardly acquired miniature painting products that I'm not working on. But sometimes it's inspiring. Uh-huh. So it's like goal oriented then for you. Like you're most productive, Scrying Eye, when you have like a goal, like when you're painting a model for a specific purpose rather than just painting for you. Would you say you're more productive when you have a specific goal? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so that's definitely goal more motivated. Like I think, yeah. When you have like a game that's going on or that can be very motivating. Absolutely. See, I'm motivated by that initially, but then I like kind of get like frustrated with it because again, it's a deadline, and so it can if I'm careful, I found that I can maintain my love for it, but it means I need to build in a lot of padding. So because a deadline tends to burn me out, but I do like to paint for games, I essentially have to do what I'm doing right now with our Bardsong board game and start painting the models when there really is no deadline. Like, we haven't set a date for the game. We're not going to play it for a while. I have all the time that I need. And then I can use that as a motivator because then I'm like ahead. Gimli. That's awesome. I will admit that sometimes that motivates me too, is like not disbelief and shocked disgust, but when I know I can pull off a technique, and that, especially one that David is like dubious about, and then I'm like, aha, here I go. And I'll do it secretly, and then I'll like spring it on him. And that definitely is rewarding. All right, so we're up to a light gray. I'm just going to start hitting some of these locks now. More specifically, I'm going to use a roll. This is my my Da Vinci, and I'm starting to really kind of mimic the hair texture at this point to bring out those brush strokes. At this point, I've got several different layers of gray built up on top of each other. I'm still going to go up to pure white on the hair, but maybe only toward the ends. Or areas where it's really hitting the light like this, where it's out on the spear. And I'm going to go pretty solid on that. Yeah. You do yearly goals. Oh, nice, Bendo. That's pretty good. So you just like, I want to get this done over the course of the year, and then you just kind of work toward that. That's really cool. I try to do that, and I get so derailed. Oh, man. So very derailed. Although I do admit, like, I tried to set a goal for myself this year. And although I am not like actually like specifically on track with it, like I'm not meeting my goal, I'm nonetheless painting more and being more productive this year. I've definitely noticed that. I'm finishing more models. So that says to me that I'm in the right direction. And maybe if I just keep at it, I'll be able to eventually achieve the goal that I set for myself, which was to essentially finish 2 models in order to buy 1. But then it's weird, because then you have, like, cons where, like, David buys me stuff, and I'm like, does that count? Please help, Returnip. Kyle comes up with new ideas that you're dubious about, that he convinces you to try it. Oh, I won't tell him. Yeah, I'm with you, Scrying Eye. Yeah, I have to really break those down. Like, I've learned that if I'm going to do a Warhammer army, or anything that's big like that, and this includes Gloomhaven, I need to pick just like a handful of models, no more than 4, and I need to just work on those. And then I need to pick the next 3 or 4, or the next 1 if it's a complicated piece. If I don't buy it, it doesn't count. I like that, Cornico, because David has bought me a lot of miniatures. Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah, skirmish style stuff is just so much, it's so rewarding because you don't have that many models, and you can paint them all, like, you know, relatively in less time, and, you know, try a different color scheme. The part of the problem with armies is just that it's like usually one-ish color scheme. That's kind of why my last Warhammer 40k army that I grabbed, and the one that I'm still going to stick to, even if I'm annoyed at GW right now, is Eldar, because I can do aspect warriors and make them different colors. So that will make it a little less of a complete pain. Like, because otherwise, if everything's the same color, like, I totally ground out. I used to do wood elves back in the day with traditional old school Warhammer fantasy, and I made them a seasonal army so that I could paint different units as different seasons. And that was fun, and it got me a painted army. So I think that for me, it's very important to have an army or a force that I can switch up the color scheme on a bit from unit to unit. Yeah, somebody the same thing over and over. I know. Right, yeah, there's people that can just bang out 20, right? It's crazy. Matte sealer to water just for the sealer? Yeah, I usually just do 5 to 1-ish. If you're doing a wash, then it's different. Were you doing a wash or just like using sealer, Return It? Remember to also shake up your sealer a lot. It's just a little bit. Oh no, 5 sealer, 1 water. You just need to thin the sealer a tiny bit. I like to thin it just a little. Makes it flow a little bit better. Yeah, too much water is you're not getting any sealer. You're breaking the paint. Yeah, what else did Emma? Yeah. Yeah. But what else were still a pretty cool army? Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I've painted a lot of Space Wolves in my time. I also used to really like Salamanders. Right, that's true, Inara. That is a point. Like, if you kind of get in your Zen zone and you just, like, I think that maybe this is wrong, but maybe army painters are more completionist painters, like, where they complete it and it gives them the reward, and it's less about how you paint it. Like, less process, more completion. I don't know. Yeah. See, I think that's really good, Gimli. That's a really good tactic that Luca uses. Yeah. Doing that. Oh, hey, it's time. It's time for the pup date, guys. I just realized it's time for the pup date. The pup date is late today. Late pup date. I do have a couple of cute pictures. Just a couple. Yeah, you sort of shut down on your higher brain functions. This is cool. Higher brain functions are overrated. You can do that with armies too, though, Scrying Eye. If you make up the history of the unit, or if like me, I had stories attached to some of my units based on games we played, so that made it more fun to actually paint those units in accordance with their story. Yeah, some of them end up really loving the painting side, but yeah, it does take them a while. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Pup date. Okay, puppy. Oh, more puppy pictures. Oh, they're learning to use the litter box, guys. Oh, first was Grog. Okay. So hold on. We've got a Grog picture and a Vex picture and a Lavender Girl picture and puppies learning to use litter box. I won't show you both of those, but here is one little puppy. I think it's Percy. So Bridget has essentially made them a litter box, and these puppies, guys, are like 2 days older than 3 weeks, and they are already learning. This is the start, Scrying Eye, just in case you didn't know. This is the start to teaching puppies that the surface of outside ground is where you go, not inside. So this is brilliant, and yeah, breeders do this. Like, good breeders. I'm gonna start. If I have another litter, I'm totally. Well, it was just in the litter box. I'm saving you the pooping picture. I'm sparing you guys. But then there's a little lavender girl, Pike. Sorry, she's sleeping. She got her little white blaze. So cute. Little tiny ears are standing up because she's sleeping. But yeah, litter boxes are a thing. Like, I thought it was wonky too when I first heard about it, Scrying Eye, but then once I understood like the basis of it, there's Grog. Grog is he's the big sable boy sleeping on the really cute Snoopy and Woodstock pillow that Bridget got them. They really like it. And then we've got, oh, this is so cute. This is Vex. She's one of the puppies that are actually I might get. So, because I'm on a list for a girl. So she's like totally like loves to sleep on her back, and she has this little happy face, just like, oh yay, I'm sleeping. Yeah, I love the sleepy puppies. So yeah. So cute. There you go. Pup date, guys. Pup date. I'm so excited. Like, it's tomorrow it'll be exactly 4 weeks till I fly out to see the puppies. Sir Neidhart, thank you. 13 months with the Prime sub. Thank you so much. Yeah, that happens, Returnip. Like, you can feel resistance, and just making yourself sit down and start can eliminate that resistance. so much, Turgeon. I don't know. Like I said, it is working. Like, for me, what I've learned about New Year's resolutions is that it's not an all or nothing game. The important thing is that you make the effort. And when you do make the effort, you usually do figure out a couple of life hacks that let you get closer to the ideal that you set for the New Year's resolution. Like, I've used New Year's resolutions very, very well, like, through the course of my life to just start new things. And yes, it took me a while to get there, more than 1 year, usually with the big ones. But every year I got a little bit more solid. I learned a few more tricks. I got, a couple more habits, healthier habits were formed. So with this miniatures one, like I said, I'm not actually painting like 2 for 1 like I wanted to, but I'm not that far off. And it's definitely making me finish things. Hey there, Magnetic Gumby. Yeah, I feel that. I hope you like your new place, though. Hope the move is working out for you. So I'm just doing, like, kind of keeping my brush strokes in line with the actual hair's movement so that I can get it to look, the directionality of it. Yeah, that's Ron Hawkins. That's Ron. I mean, not never, because we taunted him 1 year into painting. But Ron's collection is insane. Or it was. Maybe he's eBayed it. I don't know. He may not do this anymore, but it used to be Ron never ever. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's terrible. What helped me, Julie, is that I made a different desk. I made a different working area for my my fun painting. So, like, this is my work desk, and then in the other room is my me desk, where I'm allowed to work on anything, and I'm off work. And that helped. That helped a lot. So making even a different section of the desk. Because, yeah, I ran into that when we were living in the apartment still before we got the house, where my painting area was my painting area, and we didn't have any other room. Yeah, some people like minis. Well, that's Ron. I mean, he likes the sculpts, right? He likes miniatures, but he just doesn't have, at least, he doesn't have the time or the impetus to paint. Maybe once his kids are out of the house. Although, are they all out of the house now? I don't know. I've been out of touch. Revolving top 10 list. Yeah. Yeah, I think that, people who just collect miniatures and don't paint, like, they like miniatures, and that's fair. It's like people who would, like, buy the statues for the superheroes, and stuff like that. I mean, I have Overwatch statues. I also paint, but, I can totally get the people who just like the sculpt, right? They like to have that awesome thing. And then there are the people who really love putting them together. Like, these people who really love the GW model kits because they're intricate, right? And you can build a really cool character. And they just don't like the painting aspect. I get that. That's fair. It's still a part of the hobby, but it's not like the painting part of the hobby. And sometimes people will try it. I mean, yeah, and you're right. Sometimes they're just not going to like it, but... Yeah, that's a really good idea, getting one of the roll top desks for painting Magnetic Gumby. Yeah. Yeah, Binary. I get it, right? Like, I'm trying so hard. Like, oh, and I just got a gigantic model, guys, the other day. So, Journeyman Miniatures puts out they've got a new female samurai bust, Shinobi. And there is a 1/10 scale one. And then there is the 1/6 scale one, which is actually the scale of the Soldier 76 statue that I painted. Remember the one that took me 140 hours? Yeah, I ordered the 1/6 scale version of that bust, and now I'm kicking myself going, why? Why am I going to do another 140-hour paint job? Why? Although she does have a lot of her textures actually sculpted onto her. But still. Wall of potential. No, no, not wall of shame. It's not. We call it, we have actually, since it's, I don't know. We don't consider it of shame. Like, our wall of shame isn't the unfinished models. Our wall of shame is the ones we start and don't finish. And we actually switched our verbiage, David and I, to calling it the shelf of lost love instead, because that's more accurate. We don't feel ashamed that we didn't finish them. We've just lost love for them. And sometimes, honestly, David will go back and sometimes he'll pick up a model that has been sitting there for 5 years and he'll finish it. Just because he will. Yeah. Shelf of lost love. Yep. Yeah, I mean, a lot of us painted our first minis and then we were just kids. So we just kind of like, got distracted by 50 zillion things. And then we come back to it and get more serious about it later. That happened to me. I painted a little bit I tried miniature painting in grade school or high school. I forget exactly. I think it was still grade school at that point. And then once I hit college, then I got serious into it. It helped that I had a game store I could walk to in college. Alrighty. So again, just little streaks in line with the hair. Yeah, that's kind of why we decided that shame was a bad word. Like, David really didn't like it, Returnip, because we don't really let anybody else dictate. But I still get a little bit of a downer if I start a project and I don't finish it. So we just relabeled it the Shelf of Lost Love, and that let us not drum ourselves so bad about it. Like right now, Noli is on the Shelf of Lost Love. Only she isn't, because I've kept her in here in my my painting den. So sometimes if this sculpt is a little bit chunky, you may have issues like getting really nice lines, and that's fine. You can always go back and grab a little bit of your dark if you want to kind of straighten stuff out or reintroduce some dark areas. I went all the way back to the walnut for that, but we'll go down there. Oh yeah. Yeah, once somebody hands you a mini, it's very hard not to try to paint it because they look so cool. See, I came to the conclusion that I was not going to get to some of those models, and so that's why I liquidated a lot before I moved. And I felt really good about it, too. Because sometimes I picked up a model, and then years later I looked at it, and I was just like, you know what? I'm never going to get to this. I'm just, like, not excited about it anymore. So then I got to rehome it, and that was fun, too, because there's always somebody who is excited about it. Alrighty, so now I'm going to get down on here, and then we're going to bring our pure white in, and I'm going to see what I can do. Hey, Magnetic Gumby, thank you for the resub, 20 months. But yeah, there's just some models that I start, and then I'm just like, I'm not liking this as much as I thought I would. Or like with Noli, it's totally that she just has too much hair. Like, often I find... Because I am one of those people who can paint late in the evening. Like, I run out of steam around 10 p.m., but I can do some work somewhere between the 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. mark and not be too tired for it. And, but sometimes, like, the thing that I have left to do is just going to take so much effort and so much pain that I just pull back from it. And that's where Noli is right now with all of those dreadlocks and braids. It has taught me that I need to be very cautious about starting these models with tons of dreadlocks and stuff. Oh, hey. And another 20 months from Scrying Eye. Thank you. 2 20s in a row. Wow, we critted. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Agent Marvel. Well, that's kind of why we actually have one of the IKEA cases for our unfinished projects. Because it keeps them out. It keeps them where we can see them. So if it's something like Noli where I know I'm going to finish it eventually, I just need to like find the day with where I have enough oomph and I want to work on her. So just a streaking, not real precise, guys, just like a keep going in the right direction. All right, let's see. I feel like that's a lot nice and lighter than these. These guys need a little bit more. We have not gotten as light as we could on some of these. So I'm going to bring up the highlights, another section. That's a little brighter. Too close to Critical Role. Not going to do it, Returnip. Besides, it's not my call to rename the stream. Because it's not my stream, it's Reaper's. But good thought, good thought. That may be what I name our puppy. It was actually one of the registered names I came up with for our new puppy once we get her. Because our breeder named the puppies after Critical Role characters. Yeah, I'm a slow painter too, Inara. I think we all know that I'm a slow painter at this point. And you know, I'm capable of painting with speed, but what I have learned is actually that to paint fast, I need to be in the zone. Like, I need to be... Remember how I said I'm most productive with my noise blockers on while I'm sitting and painting alone? Yeah, that's what I need in order... If I'm going to try to do a speed paint, ironically, I have to have that. Because it's the only way I can actually focus enough to like keep all the steps in my head and paint fast and efficiently. Like, I need that level of concentration in order to do it. Here on the stream, there's like, I never could do a speed paint on here. Because I have a lot of distractions. That's when I just start mixing, Kerniko. Like, I mean, given I've got kind of like a leg up because I know the pigments really well, but I just find that asking myself, is it a purple? All right. Is it this purple? No. It's this purple but slightly redder? Okay, I'll add some red. You know, you could usually get close enough. Yeah, a lot of people do apps. Some people do photos of the colors next to the mini, and they'll organize them in folders. That's a really good way to do it. I keep my little cards, as you guys know, and I just keep that near the model. Usually I will... I'll either do it on a card or I'll put a sticky note on it and stick the model's blister card name to it. I just like... I've realized that it's funny too because I am a digital girl in many, many ways. But I still love kind of the tactile feel of like paper and like having things like organized physically in front of me. Like I just respond well to that. So like that's why I do the cards and the sticky notes and that sort of thing, I think. Because it still like feels good to me. Yeah. I mean, that's a good way to just get out of having to do touch-ups because, you know, people are not respecting your work. But in reality, almost any, like, skin tone that was close would work. People overthink it a lot when matching colors. I agree with Rhonda on that. She did a PDF not long ago about, like, color matching and stuff like that and how most people are too obsessed with being perfect on it, and you don't have to be. All right, so we've got this nice coming up really nice here on there, and I'm going to do the beard and the mustaches. It's much smaller, so I don't need all of the different gradations. I am going to try to like suggest a little bit of salt and pepper here. by getting both the inside and the outside on the mustache. Mostly the outside, I think. You can make one if you want, Returnip. Otherwise, everybody's got like different preferences for wet palettes. So many companies make them. The really key is that you want one for miniatures, which is usually smaller. Most people don't like the really big ones for traditional painting because they take up so much room on your painting surface. I'm trying to remember. I think I have the Game MV one. I have a Masterson's one. A lot of people don't like the Masterson's wet palette paper, but I actually do. But you can always just use parchment with any old wet palette. Baker's parchment. It's the cheapest alternative. Yes. Yep. Exactly, Valenar. Yeah, the Stay Wet is the Masterson's, I think. Is that right? Well, also, though, pay attention, Return It, because different companies have different colors of sponge, and that actually does make a big difference. Like, the Masterson's is a yellow sponge, but, like, I think it's a Game MV one that I have, which is green. It's unbranded because I got it through Kickstarter. But that one has a white sponge. And I think the Red Grass one that David has also has a white sponge. And we really like those because the yellow can make an impact in how colors look. Green Stuff World from Cornico. Oh no, you shouldn't throw sponges out, like, unless you really hate the color, Return It. But I mean, the sponge is useful. Like, I make an effort to get a good sponge. Fair. Well then, you might want to say, before you take any recommendation, Return It, you might want to ask, like, are you looking for a really shallow tray? Like, because some of these have deeper trays than others. And some of them are different sizes. Like, some are larger and some are more smaller or more rectangular. Some are more, more squarish. So, like, if the tray is what you're looking for, are there specifics that you need in the tray? Shallow, so a shallow tray. The Red Grass one is pretty shallow. The Masterson one is fairly shallow. The Game Envy one I have is a little deeper. But I like it because it's a small one. It's really small. And I want something, if I'm going to use a wet palette, I don't want it to be taking up a lot of surface on my area. There we go. So we've got little streaks here. I think I want a little streak on the outside of this mustache too. Size not super important, yeah. So you probably have a couple of different, like, I think Red Grass and the Masterson Stay Wet are pretty shallow. So I think the Masterson might be the most shallow. All right, there we go. So there's a nice little light tips on his fancy mustache. We've got the gray and the beard. And I want to get the hair a little bit more. Granico. All right, now let's go up to a pure white with just a little bit of our gray in it. All right, where's my white? There it is. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go to Cairnstone and white, I think. No, Masterson is not made to really seal. Like, it's made to set the top on so that it'll keep the moisture in so that the wet palette stays wet, but it's not meant for travel purposes. I actually find that no palette that I have yet used will seal with water, any substantial amount of water inside of it, and not let water out. Like, I still have to pour all the water out. So, I think that's it. Like, I find that I'm like, not selecting for that trait anymore. But your mileage may vary. Your cats are so silly, Kariniko. Yeah, so it depends on if you're looking for a travel palette, if you're just looking for something that you can put a lid on so that, you know, the doesn't evaporate as fast. It's always like purpose, right? What your purpose is. Travel with the red grass without incident. Nice dog, Father. Yeah, David's got the red grass and I don't. Mostly because I just don't wet palette. So the Game Envy one is good enough for me because I just don't wet palette. So I tend to be just fine without getting too persnickety about mine. Exception being if I'm painting like really fast, then sometimes I'll wet palette, but it's very rare. All right, little bit of this pale off-white, just picking out like kind of the ends and edges of the hair. Uh-oh, too much water. When you see that lack of control where it's not a super thin line, that means I've got too much water on my brush. But that's the, like, make it yourself. That's totally respectable, Rainbow. Like, it's only those of us who get, like, you know, persnickety about it that... And I just got one. The only reason I have one, I have a Masterson one and totally lost the half of the container and, like, killed my sponge. So I no longer have that one. But the only reason I have one at all is I got it, like, with a Kickstarter as a freebie. So... I mean, just because you made one yourself, that's actually cool. I consider the do-it-yourself camp to be pretty awesome, so... I will never judge you for making your own wet palette. You just saved yourself money. Grats. Alrighty. So just a little bit of extra touch, and going up to like a very high off white here lets us bring in some higher highlights where we want them and accentuate the edges so we can bring that texture out. Oh, that's totally what my cat used to like to do. Nomedzik. He would totally jump up and try to get between me and the chair. He wasn't trying to push me off, he just wanted the warm space. No, your cats actually like to be sprayed down. Kuroniko's Crazy Cats. That needs to be your YouTube channel. Yeah, Nara, I feel it. Yep, pretty soon I'll have a little puppy and dog hair will begin floating through the atmosphere again. So using that white to really bring that tip of that lock of hair up. Yeah, Bendo. Yeah, I've still been hemming and hawing about how I want to make my puppy barricade area over here so that you guys can have puppy cam when I get the new puppy. I'm actually kind of just thinking about getting like kind of a playpen, but I don't know. I don't want to pick up stuff that I'm not gonna, that I then have to unload on somebody else. Like, I don't want to, at least with a pen, I'll use it. I'll continue to use it throughout the dog's life. So I might just pick up a pen that's really short. I'll have to have puppy distraction implements on hand in case the puppy doesn't just snooze through the stream. Cat-related interruptions. Yeah, pretty much we'd all watch that, Scornico. Yeah, right. Rawr. I have to get his eyes. I need to touch up his face. He's got a really deep dimple there next to his nose. Reading weird, so I need to tackle it with some shadows and highlights. All right, I want to get this bit. So when you're trying to get this this much control, like, you can see how little paint I have on my brush. You'd almost think there was no paint on my brush, but because it's super thin, it's there and it's working, and it's actually got decent coverage. You just gotta unload your brush a lot. David asked me if I would be sad if the puppy didn't like squeaky balls like Kiri did. Because we have some squeaky balls left from Kiri. And I don't think so. I'd be super happy if the puppy liked them. But I don't think I'm going to be sad if the puppy doesn't. There we go. Yep, bye, turnip. Yes, have a good day. There we go. So we've got some nice, let's see what I've got. So it's cool. It added extra dimension to his face for sure, didn't it? And then we've got like, I still feel like I need more white on this though. Too gray here. Here I feel like we're good because we've got a shadow here, but on the other side there's a lot of light. I feel like this is really good, but I feel like we need more white on this side, so needs a bit more. Okay, bye, Inara. Thanks for coming. It was good to see you. We are almost done anyway. I started pretty much on time today. That's a little better. Yeah, that's better. That's showing up better now. All right, back up. Yeah, I like that because that brings up the light color, the white. It brings it up to here near the head more than the cream colored antlers do. I still feel like it could be a little stronger though. I may glaze. I think I'm going to do that. He's like the Centaur general or something. It gives him a little more cultured of a look, doesn't it? He does have a pretty squarely trimmed beard, though, so maybe he is cultured for a centaur. I think I'm going to put a glaze on the top of this. So I'm going to take my my really pale off-white. Glazing with light colors is a little harder than glazing with darks because the darks tend to be a lot more translucent, whereas the lights are trying to get coverage. So you have to fight with them a little bit sometimes to get an even layer of glaze. I'm just going to do a real thin layer over the top of everything up here. And it's going to lighten the whole surface. But I'm keeping my shadows and highlights. That really lightened it up. Look at that. Look at the difference between that and that. Like, you can see it. So this is a good tactic, and I'm going to do it again. That's what I needed to do, is to just raise up the whole thing just like one level. So sometimes a glaze really is the key. When you're like, this is just a little dark and I could keep putting highlights on it, or I could put a glaze over the whole thing and bring the whole thing up. And sometimes the glaze is the fastest answer. That just makes it lighter. Yeah, that made it bolder. I think he's coming out really cool. I don't think so. I mean, maybe some companies that make glazes actually in bottle might have some lighter glazes. I usually just go to colored water. Just like same consistency I use for any other glaze where I can barely see the color. And I just do it. It works best, I think, when you're doing the quick application over the whole surface, though. I find that light glazes get problematic when you're trying to do it like over an entire cape. Then you've really got to slobber on a lot of it and then wick it all off and leave that super even layer of glaze over the whole cloak. That can be a lot harder. Doing these smaller areas, though, doing an area like a face or one of these areas here, it's very easy to just paint on that ultra thin area with no pooling, and that's a lot less problematic. And then you just build it up however you like to until you're at the level you want. But you don't have to let anything pool, and so you're not risking those coffee stains. There we go. I think I like that better. Yeah, now it reads better. Now it's reading. I can see the white up here, and I can see the white down here on the hoof, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to repeat that around the figure. Yeah, and you definitely get it here. You definitely can see the eye bounce from the pattern up to the hair, and I like that. That's great. That's exactly what I wanted. Food coloring is a dye, actually, and it is a bad decision, Trashorama. But then again, you are free to do whatever you wish. Alrighty, let's see here. I don't have really much time for anything else except just to double check. You know what? I'm going to use this real pale color to hit the very tips of the horns here too. Actually, Trashorama's on a rampage. That's what we've got here. Yeah, you can tell that I grew up in Wisconsin from some of my vocal idiosyncrasies. You have to stay on brand. Do we have alpaca people today? I forgot to ask before I went 5 minutes over. Yes. All right. Well then, I will just put a couple of little highlights on these horns, and then we will call it. Alpaca people. There we go. Excellent. All right, there we are, and we'll call it there. I'm pretty darn happy with that. I think it looks cool. It accomplished what I wanted, which was to draw more attention to the top of the model, especially with the beard and the mustache. That works really well. I think he's way cool. I think he's turning out really, really well. So, like, I like centaurs, so this was fun. Now we need a sexy female centaur that I can paint. Yeah, thanks for coming along with us today, Bendo. It was fun chatting with you. All right, tomorrow. Tomorrow is Mr. Mage. We've been working on Mr. Mage. I was shading, working on the orange a bit, talking about what I might want to do for freehand on it. But yes, tomorrow it will be Mage Day. And we will see you all then, all right? So I will hope to see you guys tomorrow morning, and I hope you have a lovely day. Have fun with the Alpaca Nation. Adios.